Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome to another edition of Football Theory. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis. Pleased to be joined by the coach, Coach Bob Shipley. He is a man of many talents and many accomplishments. I try to list them all, but I usually do a terrible job. Former high school coach at Capel, Brownwood, Belton, Rotan, Burnett as well. He is a college football player at Abilene Christian, also coached at Abilene Christian, multiple stints there, spent 5 seasons at University of Texas in multiple roles there as well. Now you can catch his work at shipleyranches.com. I usually wear my Shipley Ranches hat because I'm trying to represent, but don't have it on today. Coach Bob Shipley joining us on Football Theory, my co-host. What's going on, Coach? How you doing?
What's up, Rod? You doing good?
I'm doing great, Coach. I'm doing great, man. Baby's sleeping a little bit more, so that's a good thing. And baby's healthy and happy, and mama's a little bit happier because she's sleeping more. So that's good. That's always a good thing.
that's always a good thing.
No doubt. How you and the family doing? How y'all doing?
Doing good, man. Enjoying this nice little early spring weather. It's beautiful.
It's like 80.
Yeah, I love it. It's great.
That's why we pay the high property taxes, man. We get 80 degrees in February down here in Central Texas. It's a beautiful thing. All right, Coach. I know we only had you for a short time, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I got to get your thoughts, man. It's always a great time to have you as a co-host on the show, but it's even better because you are a man that know a lot of people in the coaching game. And Sark had multiple kind of announcements on the 40 acres recently. One is that Chris Gilbert's going to be returning back to the 40 acres as a special assistant. You know him personally, so I want to get your thoughts there. I got a few questions. They also announced a keynote speaker for the Coaches Clinic, which is going to be Sean McVay. Again, by the way, because you actually remember when Sean McVay came on campus as the keynote speaker for Tom Herman. At one time for his coaching clinic. So not a great time to have you. And also I want to get your thoughts. Speaking of Sean McVay, he actually recently admitted that he basically had that there was a shortcoming within his coaching skill set that he wanted to address as a play calling head coach. And Sark is a play calling head coach. And I want to get your thoughts about game management because Sean McVay just recently hired a coordinator of football strategy. And essentially, this coordinated football strategy is going to help him with game management, time management, situational football. I mean, Sean McVay is known as one of the brightest minds in all of football. And yet he's admitting, hey, I need a little help managing this game. It's a lot going on to me be a play calling head coach. My question for you will be, should Sark entertain bringing in someone specifically as a coordinator of football strategy, or is that person already on the staff and you as a coach, y'all just designate those roles for the coach? I got that question for you as well, Coach. So I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but I know you can handle it. Before we get started, let's thank our wonderful sponsor. Football Theory is brought to you by accomplished Austin realtor Laura Baker. Laura and the Andy Allen team at Keller Williams can handle all of your real estate needs in the Austin area. Laura is not only a diehard Longhorn fan, but a longtime Austin real estate expert. So what are you waiting for? Give her a shout today. 512-784-0505. That's 512-784-0505. All right, Coach, let's get right to it. I think it's good news for the Longhorns. They end up getting a great addition to the coaching staff or to the support staff, whichever way you want to call it. Originally, Chris Gilbert, who was if I'm not mistaken, the director of high school relations, a title that you actually held at one time, weren't you? Oh wow! Yeah. See, there you go. I told you I don't give Coach enough props for his accomplishments and what he's done. I usually do a terrible job. I learn stuff about Coach every time we do the show together. Well, Chris Gilbert, he was once the director of high school relations here, high school football relations at Texas, and he left to become the tight ends coach at North Texas, and now he is back reportedly with the Longhorns as a special assistant to the head coach. First of all, do you know Coach Gilbert very well, Coach?
You bet. Yeah. He actually, I helped Sark, just gave him some suggestions on who I thought, would be good for my role. As I had actually already told Tom that I was going to retire at the end of that season.
Oh, wow.
And so before Sark came in, and then when Sark came in, he asked me to stay on through the spring to help him find a replacement for director of high school relations and then train him a little bit. So my recommendation was Chris Gilbert. And I think it didn't take Sark and the staff long when they met him and visited with him and saw his passion for football and for kids, and that he would be actually what he did was broader than what I did, in that role. But Chris came in and just dove right in, and Sark, had a little bit different philosophy with that high school relations position than maybe some of the previous head coaches had. Yeah. So he did his high school relations stuff, but he was also very active in recruiting. And the part that I was active in recruiting was I was basically recruiting parents, campus, grandparents, family, that kind of stuff. Having two kids that played for university was a natural for me to kind of let the parents know what's like, how we communicate with you, how long they have to live in the dorm, what it's like when you go on road games, the team hotel, just how all that works, tickets and, all that stuff. Thankfully, that was before NIL, so I didn't have to explain that.
Seriously.
Doing that because, but anyway, and so Coach Gilbert came in, and he just was very active in recruiting. He couldn't go off campus recruiting, but he could go to coaching clinics and visit with high school coaches and so forth, which is something that that role has always demanded, to go to clinics and just as a brand, get the brand out there. But the job that he did, from what I've heard in his recruiting, especially in the Metroplex, was just phenomenal. And he and Sark just really hit it off. And I know it was a hard decision for him to leave, but he was really wanting to get on the field, and he thought that would be the best situation for him to stay in Texas, go to North Texas. I haven't talked to him yet since the news has broken. I don't know, what he's thinking. My understanding is he's also the assistant general manager. I'm not sure what all Sark has planned for him, but I have a feeling that recruiting is a really, really big part of it, because that's what he does really, really well.
That's great stuff, Coach. I mean, he's a made man in the DFW area, right? From what he did there at Lancaster. So he's got great ties, connections, relationships in
South Oak Cliff. I mean, he's coached there, played there. I mean, he is. In fact, when you talk to, I talked to Bruce Chambers, who was staff. Bruce, he was on staff coaching when you were playing.
Sir.
And Bruce was that guy for us
for Matt.
Years. He was amazing.
Yes, he was.
He knew everybody. Was very well respected. The former head coach at Dallas Carter, when Dallas Carter was what Duncanville is now, and DeSoto is now. Yeah. That was Carter. He was the head coach and assistant, and then was the head coach. And so I called Bruce and I said, we're looking for somebody to replace. Who would you recommend? We want somebody that's really good in the Metroplex area recruiting. And we felt like we had lost some traction there over the years. And Chris Gilbert is who he recommended as well. So, so he was obviously very effective in recruiting, not just the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but that's his. Everybody knows him. All the coaches know him. A lot of the parents know him. He grew up there. And some reason came out west like me to Angelo State and played football with Rams. But obviously, Sark realized the job that he did. And I don't know if there was, sometimes you got to say, okay, we're going to work you into an on the field position at some point. I don't know. Or maybe Chris might have said, you know what, I may just try to go back in and learn the administrative part and become a general manager or something. I don't know what his thoughts were on that, but I just know it brings an awful lot to the table for Coach Sark and his staff.
No, it's interesting, Coach, you bring that up, because we're just throwing around theories now, right? This is kind of just me spitballing, rumor, conjecture. I've not heard anything, and like Coach said, he hadn't talked to Coach Gilbert since the news was announced. But it kind of reminds me of the Brandon Harris stuff, right? Brandon Harris. Everybody thought he would want to be an on-field coach when he was here at Texas initially. He was actually, speaking of Sean McVay, he was offered an assistant coaching job by Sean McVay, an assistant quarterback coach, I believe he was offered. And he passed it up, by the way, which you don't pass up job offers from Sean McVay because that guy will put you on a meteoric rise in the coaching community. He passed it up to come back to Texas. And it turns out now he's the general manager, first ever general manager at Texas. And when Sark talked about him, he kept saying, we see the football world alike. I just liked him. I like being around him. I like the way he communicated. And Sark almost just implied, I just wanted him on my staff somewhere. I was going to find a place for him. And turns out, instead of the on-field coaching, it was in more the front office position, like you said, more the administrative role for Brandon Harris. And maybe that's what Brandon Harris wants. But I think similarly, I think he likes Chris Gilbert. And he just wants him on it, and we'll find a place for you. Right now, it's special assistant. It may be assistant GM. Who knows? The way Sark loses coaches because they get job offers from other places. He's lost one every year, pretty much. He lost Choate this year, Brendan Marion, year before that, and Tashard Choice came in because Stan Drayton left. When you're a really good football program, teams want to replicate it. They want to take your coaches. Maybe he will be an on-field coach. And Sark's like, no, I just like him around. He's got great ties to DFW. Like you said, that's the second most fertile metro area for producing NFL talent in the country. You need somebody who's a made man there, which he is. But maybe if something does open up on the staff, which it seems like will happen in the next 2 years, hey, you can be my guy. Or you could be the assistant GM in his new front office that I'm building. I just think he likes having great football minds on the staff. And then he'll find different places for them depending on the situation. Right. I'm trying to get that kind of feeling from Sark.
Yeah, I think so. Coach Gilbert also, a lot of the players think very highly of him. He recruited so many of the players on the team right now. In some capacity, he was involved in their recruitment. And, when you've got the head coach calling you a rock star, and players on the team are celebrating actively on social media your return. Man, that's good. That's a good sign, pointing, trending the right direction for hires that he's making.
That's a great point, Coach. That's a really good point. All right. So congrats to Coach Gilbert for Chris Gilbert coming back. I think he's going to be involved in a lot of different things. Special assistant, it could be assistant general manager thrown in there as well. Let me ask you about the announcement that we just talked about Sean McVay a little bit. That Sean McVay is going to be the keynote speaker. You've been at Texas, in some form or capacity for a lot of different coaches. Were you there when Sean McVay spoke initially for Tom Herman? So you were. So did you get a chance to meet Coach McVay?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, so give me your thoughts about what he offers, because you obviously must have heard him speak too at the coaches clinic. What were your thoughts? Him as a football mind, what does he offer? I kind of want to ask you about coaching clinics a little bit too. And by the way, I think Sark selfishly, and I'm glad he does, I think he brings in coaches that he wants to steal ideas from too. And not only guys he respects that are respecting the coach community, but he's had Kyle Shanahan in there. He's had Sean McVay, and he's openly talked about how much he admires that McShanahan coaching tree and he wants to siphon stuff from it. And Dan Quinn's another guy I think he had in, and Dan Quinn ultimately hired Kyle Shanahan as the offensive coordinator when they was in Atlanta, and after that he hired Sark. But what are your thoughts about Sean McVay speaking? Give me, because he's known as one of the most respected football minds out there. What does he offer when he speaks to teams and coaches?
He is. I've heard him speak a couple of times, as a matter of fact, in different venues, and he's young. He brings a different mindset. He brings a different philosophy. I think a younger, fresher, outside the box kind of guy. He's not one of these NFL recycle guys. Of course, in I think maybe 17 or 18, we brought in Bill Belichick, who was. It was huge. We had 1,000 high school coaches.
Wow!
At watching that incredible clinic and list of speakers that we had. But I think McVay he's young in terms of, like, I don't know what his age difference is with Sark, but they're probably pretty close to the same age. And I just think the way that he goes about doing things is a little bit different than we've seen over the history of NFL.
Oh yeah.
And, he's he's a little more energetic than a lot of guys that you see in the NFL. But I think he's somebody that the high school coaches, what we always talked about when we were trying to decide on a speaker like that is, who's somebody the high school coaches will want to come in and hear. That's the whole deal. But at the same time, you've got that guy there for at least a full day, maybe even longer. As a matter of fact, I think I told you on one of our earlier shows when Belichick came, we actually got 3 or 4 guys out, and he worked them out on the field.
Wow!
Prior to his speaking, and so just kind of a one-on-one thing, just him and me and a couple of GAs maybe out there at DKR awesome. working them out. And so it sounds like Sean's doing us a big favor. It could be something McVay said, hey, if I come down, can I work out a couple of guys, guys we're looking at drafting, so I think that, it's good for Sean, but it's good for us, but it's also good for Sean because even if he doesn't work them out, he can see him and just kind of talk to him a little bit and maybe, get an impression of what he thinks about him. So I think it's somebody the high school coaches want to hear. Like I said, that's very important. But also somebody the staff could get together. I know Tom always had our guest speaker at the clinic do a little staff clinic for our coaches.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So you talk about game management. Talk about coach. How many timeouts do you? What's your philosophy with timeouts in 2-minute offense? And what's your philosophy on overtime? What's your philosophy on 4th down, short?
Yeah.
Where's your do you have the field broken down? Whatever. And so, it's just kind of spitballing questions and just trying to find out, pick the brain of some guys that have been very highly successful at the highest level.
Coach, I'm glad you brought that up because honestly, that leads me to kind of our last topic. Speaking of Sean McVay, and I'll tie it to Steve Sarkisian in Texas football, of course. Sean McVay is, like you said, one of the brightest minds. And by the way, I think him and Sark are separated by 11 years. 11 year difference. Oh, yeah, he's 38, and I believe Sark's 49 at this point. Okay. Wow. Oh, yeah, no, trust me. Sark, he's going
to call Sark Pops when he comes in there.
No, but honestly, I'll give Sark credit. Sark's vibe is younger. His energy is younger than that with the shoes and maybe L'Oreal's outfits and
there's no doubt he already said that she's the one that picks it out. He just says yes, man, puts it on. He's a smart man.
No doubt. I always say the first lady of Texas football gets better looking with every coach. That's good stuff. Right. I like that. And trust me, Sally wasn't bad looking either. Now, trust me. Hey, Sally in her day. Trust me, Sally can compete with the best of them. But getting back to it, he admitted, and Sean McVay is obviously a great football mind. He admitted that this past season, after the playoff loss to Detroit, that he expressed remorse and regret about not being aggressive enough on 4th down. And he talked about how game management, time management, a lot of the football strategy stuff for him as a play calling head coach, it becomes challenging, especially when you get deeper into the playoffs and that chess match within the game. You're trying to match wits with opposing coordinators on the opposite side, on the opposite sideline. He hired a guy named John Stryker, I believe is his name. I hope I didn't mispronounce it. But he hired him as his coordinator of football strategy. He said, he's going to hire this guy. He said he wants to win in those margins of game management, time management, situational football. For a play calling head coach like Sark, because there's a lot on your plate as a play calling head coach. Coach, did you ever call plays as a head coach back in the day?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't have to tell you that. Did you find it difficult, or do you think that more and more it is difficult to be a play calling head coach at a high level of football and pay attention to all of have the situational awareness to focus on game management, to time management, aggressiveness on 4th downs? Is this something that Sark should also consider, or is this something that's already delegated? It's just not in a specific title like Sean McVay's doing. Do they already have these guys on the staff designated and delegated with their responsibility?
Well, yeah, some coaches do. Obviously, you've got everybody up in the press box typically has a chart, on when to go for two, when to go for one, how much time you can run off the clock, depending on how many timeouts you have. There's all kinds of charts like that. But I think it's a really smart move because you do get involved. And if you notice, a lot of times guys like Sark they're not watching the defense. He's over there usually squatting down, looking at his plays, or bent over, looking at his play sheet and making notes. And so I would think it's a very wise move, but it's, of course, the choice of that person makes all the difference in the world. First of all, it's got to be somebody that you value their opinion.
Yes,
and you get along with them. They can handle getting yelled at, because you're probably going to get yelled at when you try to tell the coach, you need to be thinking about this timeout. You know what I'm saying? The same coach that holds him off the field, pulls him back. I had a coach that did
the get back coach.
I got the biggest, fattest coach on the staff to pull me back. Otherwise, I'd just throw him around like a rag doll, But I think it's very wise to do that, because and it's got to be a guy that you spend a lot of time with in the off season, maybe during training camp, and he has to know what the head coach's thoughts are. He has to know what that head coach wants to know. They have it broken down in every situation. And even it's like in the NFL, man, new rules come up. What's the new overtime rules? Just somebody that knows it's on top of everything, that you spend a lot of time with one-on-one, saying, okay, Sark, what do you want to do in this situation? How much, what's more valuable to you? Do you need any timeouts left? And it's got to be somebody to talk to the defensive staff too, because, we got to say, okay, we're gonna need to call timeout. We're gonna need to get up slow, keep your guys down, get up slow, and so it's somebody that's gonna be working with both coordinators and the head coach, and it's got to be somebody that they really trust, which leads me to this. I think it's a great opportunity to utilize some of those guys that you bring in as a consultant or as a analyst or whatever they want, senior analyst, somebody that's been a head coach, FBS or whatever, to that really, some of those guys are really analytical. They're into the numbers, and they're always trying to, just like you, man, you research all the time. But now you're looking at game film at different, you're trying to find ways to utilize the clock as well as you possibly can, see mistakes other people are making and so forth. So I think it's, I don't know if it'd be cost effective to have somebody that just does that. Surely he's got to do something else,
something else. Yeah.
12, 13 games a year, tag on your headset and say, hey, you might want to think about a timeout here or whatever. Slowing things down, slow it down. Yeah. That's why I wish we had had somebody back in 2008 at Texas Tech. I'm in the stands screaming at the top of my lungs, slow down. Yeah. We're sprinting up to the line trying to score that touchdown in 08 in Lubbock. And I'm like, slow down. And I mean, hindsight's 20/20, but anyway, I think it's a great move, but you can't just go hire anybody or just pick somebody off your staff to do it. It's got to be somebody that fits everything that you're looking for in that person.
I love that, Coach. Yeah, it is a great idea, but like you said, it's got to be the right person, because that person's got to be their styles have to be compatible with the coach, because you guys are working in a collaborative effort. So that's good stuff, Coach, as always. Before we get out of here, let me thank our sponsor one more time, the fantastic Laura Baker. Football Theory brought to you by the accomplished Austin realtor Laura Baker and the Andy Allen team at Keller Williams. They can handle all of your real estate needs in the Austin area. Laura is not only a diehard Longhorn fan, but a longtime Austin real estate expert. Give her a shout today. If you have any concerns, questions, or you have any business in the Austin real estate market, she's the one to help you out. 512-784-0505. That's 512-784-0505. Coach, man, you the real MVP. I'm a smarter man now for having hung out with you in Football Theory. Thank you, Coach, for the time. I appreciate you, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks, Rod.
Thanks, Coach. And until next time, for Coach, for myself, for Laura Baker, for On Texas Football, hook 'em.